Welcome back. This is a special edition of the Black Rasslin Podcast. My name is Kaun.
Mimi.
You already know the vibe. Here she go with
I
the.
love my balloons.
Y'all used to crack on me. So I had to turn it off. I do my little peace signs or whatever. Y'all would make fun of me.
I
So
love
now
them.
I'm glad that you took that over because that cannot be my gimmick. This is going to be an interesting conversation today because not only I guess to get the accolades out the way, we got somebody else from the BRP 50 gracing the pod today. Number 21, in fact. But I mean that is just representation of where he was at that point in the middle of the year. Because you figure I was doing the knowledge on Cage Match. I think it may have been 2 months where this man hasn't been 1/3 of the ROH World Six-Man Tag Team Champions, the Cameroonian Prince.
Yes.
He's gone from a 6-year career, wrecking shop in the Indies. I know. Shouts to brother Math. Kaun is one of those guys who Math was like, "Hey,
Yes.
that's one of them ones." So you start to pay attention, and all of a sudden, I'm watching Dynamite, or I'm watching Rampage or Collision, and I recognize those dreads right there, and I recognize them tats right there. It was dope to see Kaun go from being, one half of the Gates of Agony to a part of the Mogul Embassy. He was just on Dynamite the other day, conversating with Swerve and them backstage. But my interest in Kaun recently, and I'm going to apologize now because we may have I want to know about Kaun's recent situation. Again, mention the Gates of Agony. He was just over in New Japan, literally in Japan. I feel it was for like a month. He was part of the World Tag League.
Are you about to geek out?
When I started, we followed each other on Instagram, and I was getting envious of where he was, the shops he was in. He looked like, as a pro wrestling fan who sees somebody who's a pro wrestler who I know is a pro wrestling fan, there are certain things I want to know about that experience as well as everything else. So without further ado,
yes,
let's welcome
bring the man in.
Bishop Kaun to the stage. Bishop Kaun.
Welcome.
How are y'all
Thank
doing
you.
today?
No, we're doing all right. How about yourself, my brother? How about yourself?
Doing pretty good. I've been moving around the past month a lot, so I'm just taking a few days to just sit still.
And be still and be present
still.
within.
Yep.
Good for the holidays too. I mean, we were talking off. It sounds like you're gonna be busy, but I guess it's good to get this time before 2024, and you keep that ball rolling, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I got a couple moves happening right now. Just got back from Japan, like you said, and then get the ball started in 2024. Got a big year coming up.
I was checking the stats because again, I'm 6-year career, and it's been interesting to see your development in 2023 specifically. But correct me if I'm wrong. This was your first tour of Japan ever?
It was, yeah, first time ever really leaving the country other than doing stuff in Canada.
Wow.
What's that like when you get the call? Like, you're not only going to be in Japan, but you were there for about a month, right?
Yeah, 23 days.
Well, you're there for 20 plus days. You're in the World Tag League, so you've got X amount of matches that you're going to be hitting. What's your prep like? Well, I guess first, how much time did you have to prep when you got the call that you were going to be heading overseas?
Maybe 2.5, 3 weeks.
Oh, really? Okay,
pretty
not
quick.
bad.
If we didn't ask certain questions, we probably would not have found out till later. And then it's like, hey, you got to go get to Houston, get your visa. So that's a 3-hour drive there and back. And then it's like, okay, how do I pack for this? How do I train for this? 17 matches in 23 days. That's the most I've wrestled ever in such a short amount of time.
Right.
And then again, being away from your family, a whole different country. I don't speak the language. Like, how do we mentally handle the situation? So it was a lot to take in.
Well, this goes. I'm sorry.
No, good.
This I want to even let's go back a little bit more. From the time that you had what is that whole transition period like? Not even mentally, like indies, like Japan is basically like everybody's dream, everybody's dream, right? And then now TV. So take us through that whole journey,
that whole
process, and how just what was going on in your head, and how did you even say this is how I'm gonna do it? And then towards the end, it's like, 17 matches, 23 days. I actually just did
I
that.
did it.
And
Yeah.
now I'm on TV almost every week. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's pretty, because before you even get there, I was in the car with a friend and she's like, you can't. I was like, I don't think I'm going to make it. And I said, no, but I have to make it. He's on TV like almost every week. Like, I have to make it. I can't do that. He was just like, but just say, you're. I was like, no, he's on TV every week. Like, he's kind of like a celebrity. I have to go.
He's a
You know what I
literal
mean?
world champion. I mean,
He's
it's in the title of
literally.
the belt that he holds.
And she's
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, we're gonna get you home. We're gonna get you home. But like, just because we've all seen where you were and now where you are, take us through, like, how are you feeling? Like,
Right.
all of it, the journey,
All of
and
it.
how are
All
you
of it.
feeling right now?
It's still very surreal to me. I tell people that all the time. They might not believe me. I was backstage at Dynamite a week ago, or even for Final Battle. And in Japan, there's this whole, before the show starts, everyone kind of warms together by the ring. There's like this whole schedule throughout the day. And I was like, okay, I want to bring this back when we go back to the States. So I was warming up in the arena and I was running through like the hallways, doing the stadium steps. And I just thought to myself, like, this is crazy. I used to watch like My Desire videos with Jeff Hardy or Triple H who would come back from injuries. And like I'd see the backstage process before the shows. I'm like, I'm literally living this dream that I used to dream about as a kid all the time. Like, I'm that person. I'm the guy. Like, oh, what did wrestlers do before the show? What do they? Oh, they're in catering or they hang out with the boys in the locker room. I'm living my life. And like, it just so it feels like I have out of body experiences that I'm doing it. So I try to like take videos of the arenas that I'm in. Even like getting off the bus, I told Toa, I was like, I'm never gonna get used to this. Walking through the bowels of the arenas, this is so crazy. Regular people can't understand how this feels.
Right.
And then, like you said, on TV, now more in my day-to-day life, I get recognized. So I'm like at Buc-ee's or the gas station or whatever. And people are like, hey, are you so-and-so? Like, yes, I am.
The
That's
Bucky's
amazing.
love is real for Kaun. That's crazy.
Yeah. But
I
on the
love
way to
it.
Final Battle, too, it was like, that's weird. Okay.
Right.
But it's just
No,
been the mindset. Like going into this year too, I told myself, okay, I want to try to hit 100 matches. Before 2 years ago, I really didn't wrestle on independence like that. So when I moved to Texas, I made it a point to really market myself, find myself, be a brand. I was in the tag team prior. I wanted to find who I was and really be this weekend warrior. I tell people that I was kind of inspired by Leo Rush. He came from the school that I came from, and I could just see how much he worked. And he was hitting all this independence. He was flying himself to shows. And I wanted to become that. And I did that. And I told myself, okay, I also want to get to Japan. And I just like speak these things into existence. So the work that I did this year, I had up to this point, I had 84 matches. Like I just worked my ass off and it paid off. And I made the right connections and people could see the growth that I've had in the past 6 years.
That's
I was gonna
amazing.
say because you got. I mean, it was dope to see. I mean, again, even though you guys had you had that loss in the World Tag League, that was headline news. Like it wasn't like people weren't talking about that. And I do want to shout you out because again, scrolling through Instagram and on the timeline when I wake up, getting to see the two of you backstage at New Japan. What's that? Are you freestyling all those promos? Like you just finished a match, you get into the back, and then you're spending like 3-4 minutes spitting your heart out at the camera. Talk about that. What do you like that part of the process of being a pro wrestler?
I do. I didn't at first. I'm pretty introverted. I'm pretty self-reserved. But I know being in this business, like that's something that you have to be good at. And I knew that's something that I wasn't good at. So when I got into wrestling, I looked at acting classes. I would force myself to write monologues. And I love movies, of course. So like I'd catch certain monologues that I liked and I'd just get the script of what they were saying. And I'd kind of try to put my words into cutting a promo. And for New Japan specifically, I knew I didn't have a lot of TV time for AEW to cut promos. So like, cool, there's 17 matches, 17 promos. How can I tell stories after every single match? That's just making me level up in a way where not only do I have to have this match that's going to be 10 to 15 minutes, but right after that, we have to go cut promo. And Toa speaks to Samoan, so it's all on me. So that's time to level up the game. I was working on monologues. I was having my partner read through my stuff, or I was just going off the cuff and saying how I really felt about some stuff.
Damn. It's actually cool because Toa is a man of few words, but when those words, I don't know what Toa's saying, but he is saying it with such intensity, and it feels like you step in and then you're matching that. But I mean, but I went. It was 411 Mania. I went to look at that promo you cut after that loss. I'm like, nah, that's a real paragraph that's sitting in front of my face right now. But I mean, so you're 17 promos, but it's really just you, like you're telling a story. But is it something where like like in the back of your mind, you have this monologue in the back of your head that you're gonna spit out, or you just got like bullet points and you're just going feeding off that intensity?
Kind of both. Sometimes I would try to have like a monologue written, but I knew depending on how the match went, I probably wouldn't remember that word for word. And again, this is something that I want to work on. So every promo was an opportunity to get better. And I knew with the House of Torture stuff, which side note, did like 500,000 views on Twitter. We did pretty well with that.
I'm saying.
Right.
I knew that was going to be a moment to really get some traction. So I've been reading The Art of War. And I've been reading, I like reading a lot of stuff too. So I'm pulling out certain quotes. I'm like, oh, this is a perfect theme for this story that we're going to tell. Where can I go off the cuff with this? How do I actually feel? Because if people can feel how I feel, this is more relatable for these promos. And then it kind of catches some fire.
Nice.
There's actually another, and I know Mimi, you saw this one too. There's this image I pulled from the IG of an entrance with the. I mean, first off, how do you? I imagine traveling with with that type of hedge. It's got to be a lot. But talk. I mean, again, the Cameroonian prince. But talk about incorporating that part of your life into your pro wrestling character.
It's always been a part of the plan to do that, just because growing up being biracial, with my dad being from Cameroon, my mom white woman from Wisconsin, like I never saw anybody I could really relate to, so I always try to find people that kind of looked like me. And then of course also being wrestling, like no one's really representing African cultures like that. You might see black wrestlers, but you don't really see them pull into their heritage like that. Not until recently, more so Apollo Crews did it, where I'm like, oh, this is like a modern representation. It's not some like stereotypical thing. Like people actually speak like this and he's pulling his heritage. And it's funny for me because the black people do this. It's always like, oh, this is like not stereotypical, but they look at it in a particular type of lens. Like, this is kind of gimmicky, but no, this is real life for people. But if other cultures do that, they don't say the same thing. It's okay. And then of course Black Panther comes out and I'm like, that's even better. This is a more real world interpretation of, and also, hello people, this is actually again real life for a lot of people. So now you can see this and how this is based in the U.S. So again, legit Cameroonian prince, that's who I am. And that mask is specific to the tribe that my father and I are from. So I always thought like, oh, the luchadors always wear masks. I never seen black people or African people wear masks. Where can I get this made? How can I get this made? That took like a year to put together. To try to find like legit textiles to try to get something like that made.
Yeah.
All that stuff's in museums. And it's funny because I think of Killmonger. I'm like, well, how did y'all get these?
Right.
My people didn't give you all this stuff back in like Bua. How did y'all get these masks? There's only like 10 of these that I can find. They're all a couple grand online.
Right.
You can't even touch them. Yeah.
Yeah. So like it was a process.
Did you get your family's input?
I did. I asked my father because I was just like, hey, there's a lot of small tribes where we are. I rule the Bakari tribe. So that mask is like specific to the tribe next to us, but it's all small village Bua, Cameroon. And I was like, hey, I don't want to step on toes. Like for me, we all believe in elephants being like these specific creatures for us, but it's like, hey, this is your story. Cameroon's going to represent you regardless. Like you can do what you want to do. You're going to represent our heritage. People are going to love that. So like tell your story. It's all a part of your makeup. It's like, cool, that's all I needed to hear. So it took like a year to put that together. I reached out to the guy that did the Fiend mask. He helped me design the costume idea for us, for Toa and I. Reached out to a brother from Mexico to make the mask. And we found literally the day before I left for Japan, I got Toa's entrance gear in the mail and then on the way.
Wow.
So did you had to have like a special bag or something to transport that across overseas?
Just a bunch of suitcases to get all that stuff in there.
Yeah. Oh, so it's multiple. Like actually talk like because I'm looking at. I'm like, there's a lot going on. It's multiple pieces that kind of connect together.
So the mask is one piece that can kind of just fold up in one thing, and so the shawl is one piece as well. But Toa's is like the headdress. That thing can't be squished or any kind of way, so that had to be put in. Like that took up like half the suitcase.
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet. Yeah. Damn. I mean, but. It's what you got to do if you plan on representing over there. Was again as a fan, I saw the photos of you being able to go to different spots out there and really get to see the pro wrestling culture in Japan. Talk a little bit about that. Being a fan, that the guy was watching the Jeff Hardy stuff back in the day. What was that like, being able to see that, walk in the stores and to see VHS or whatever? Did you bring any extra money in that suitcase to bring some merch home?
Fortunately, when you are people like ourselves being champions representing ROH going to Japan, you get treated very nicely.
Okay.
So you get free food, you
Nice.
get some free merch here and there.
Mm-hmm.
When we went to Helming Mask, that was really cool to me because I used to be a designer, so I know what it felt like to be a small shop owner who was literally making all these shirts, had all this old school like wrestling figures and VHSs on the wall. I'm like, that's cool because that's what my office at home looks like. I have action figures, I have all my sketchbooks from
Mm.
college,
Oh
like,
wow, your
and I even
office.
felt like weird about him giving us free stuff. Cause I'm like, man, I know how hard it is to work for like as a designer for yourself, and like you're just like, hey, no, represent me, tag me on Instagram. I'm like, that's cool, but like, bro, we got to get back to you or something. I have to come back here and like invest in the brand that you're doing because this is amazing. This is hard work. Like you are such a popular store. All the wrestling guys can come over here to this specific place.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but it was nuts, man. It was you like hear about this stuff before you go, and then you're like, oh, I'm at Danger Steak. I'm going to Helming Mask. I'm on the train going to Shibuya. Like, and people know who you are. They're standing outside the hotels waiting for you, taking pictures.
Mm.
And this is again a whole different culture. These people don't. I can't speak the language. I can't communicate with them, but they know who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's just. I never thought I would make it to this
Surreal.
point in my career.
Mm-hmm.
That's and now with
Listen.
no, for real. Actually, big up again. I mean, it's funny looking at again number 21 on the BRP 50, but
Mm.
because like there's a specific time frame. We're usually breaking it up. That's May to May. So
Mm-hmm.
when you figure you still had another 5 months, 6 months, or whatever of being a champion, plus the showing and I don't know what the future holds, but I won't. Don't be surprised if Khan may move up on that
Oh,
list a
he
little
moved
bit
up.
again, based off of what's been going on. But I wanted to ask, they're recognize you. Is this AEW fans in Japan? Is this just off the strength of knowing that you've been in the World Tag League in New Japan? Like with the people who are recognizing you, do you know where they were spotting you from?
I think first thing is the World Tag League, and then they were like, "Oh, All Elite Wrestling." Like they knew
Mhm.
that, and then once they saw that they had the championships with us because we would carry them around, like,
Right.
"Oh, Ring of Honor," because people know what Ring of Honor was.
Right, right.
Yeah.
I know. Of course, ROH they've had a relationship with Japan for a while, but it's always interesting to see where AEW is in the world. We've seen Wembley Stadium.
Hmm.
Hopefully, we see Khan in Wembley Stadium. I know
Hopefully,
that date is already set. So, and the way y'all working, you're probably gonna be defending them six-man tag champions as well. But it's interesting to hear about how far certain names are going
hmm
and. God damn, Japan though and Khan, that's got to be surreal. You
man,
probably were you pinching yourself?
a little bit every time we go warm up, and they'd be playing like the Tron, just like test the production stuff. And like I might sound horrible being like this, but they would always do like the intros to people's names, like Bishop Khan," and I would record that. I'm like, this is so cool, dude. Like this dude saying our name. I was
Right.
like, oh, they do the last name first or first name
Mm-hmm.
last. Like I want to hear this intro every single time because I don't know next time I'm gonna be here. I need to like have this in my brain.
Nah,
Right.
facts.
Yeah,
Soak it all in.
so cool, man. Just even seeing like them test the production, do all the lights and stuff. I'm like with my phone out like a fan,
Right.
like recorded everything.
Nah, for real.
So it doesn't. It just feels like a dream. Like the day after I got home, I'm like, damn, I really did that. Like that doesn't even feel real to me. Just it just like went by.
It
It's
flew like that, yeah.
did
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
Toa and I, and it's funny, him and I talk about it often. We treated that like training camp. Every day we had a routine. I was like, this is 23 days is a long time, but every
Mhm.
day, like I hate waking up early. Wake up 7:38 in the morning. He's like, let's go to the gym. Go to the gym for 2 hours. Make sure that we got the body right before we got on the bus. To go to the venue to warm up again to do the show. Back to the hotel. Same thing the next day. And it was like
Mhm.
Groundhog's Day. But he's like, we
Wow.
have to stay consistent with this because after the first match, I was like, oof, I feel kind of rough. You have
I
16.
was,
There's 16 more to go.
I was gonna say they hit a little harder over there, huh? It was a different style completely.
Different
Sure
style,
was.
different ring. Uh,
Ah,
but it made you appreciate the work. And again, just like having that routine, even on the worst days, like get up.
Yeah.
Even if I'm not lifting weights, let's go stretch for an hour. Like we got to get up. We got to go for this walk. And like that, by the time we were at the end, when we faced Okada and Tanahashi, I felt my best. No
mhm.
injuries. Him and I both, we felt fantastic. Like we could probably do another 2 weeks.
Well, that's what when you have that type of rigor
Hmm.
and you have a partner to help motivate you and keep you accountable.
Yep,
Right.
That's really that's the work there. You know
for
what I
sure.
mean? Like you're accountable for him, he's accountable for you, and here's the final product. Here it
Hmm.
is. That's amazing. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
it's funny when I met him because we didn't know who we were. Like we didn't know each other before we
Oh
got
my
signed as
goodness,
a
even
team.
better. Hmm.
Uh, I ended up going up to him. I was like, "Hey, man," just introduced myself. We ended up talking for like 3 hours, and then
Wow.
Tony's like, "Hey, I want to bring you onto this office." We got signed together. He's like, "Do y'all
Hmm.
know each other?" I'm like, "We literally just met," but him and I have the same mindset of how we approach this, and it shows in our work. Before every match, we
That's
do
right.
burpees, and we're like, "Hey, let's get the fuck over." That's the motto.
That's
Like
Right.
right.
we are not here to play. I'm trying to be a superstar.
That's right. That's right.
Mhm.
It shows. I mean,
You are.
because there's a lot of people that get great matches, but I mean, it's funny going back and just doing a search for Kaun on YouTube and find, oh yeah, they did have that banger with the Blackpool Combat Club a couple months back. Like,
Mhm.
but I wanted to know from you, I mean, as someone who's not only been a champion for a large chunk of this year, but is also just coming back from Japan. Are there any particular matches or moments that you feel are like, yeah, this is when I look back at 2023, this is what I'm going to hang my hat on and say that I really did that thing from bell to bell. Or anything like that that really stand out for you?
Because it's top of mind, a couple of the stuff that we did in New Japan, Okada and Tanahashi for sure,
Mm-hmm.
the War Dogs against Gabe Kidd and Coughlin, and then in that first match, Team DK, I feel like those are like stepping stones while we were in that tour.
Hmm.
But I think about the beginning of the year for myself, I was wrestling every single week before we like hit our stride when we got to May. Because May I wrestled Dustin Rhodes in Austin by happenstance, just because like some travel got messed up, and I
Mm-hmm.
was able to drive out there, and I got to wrestle him main event on Rampage. That's what.
It's crazy.
Right.
And then prior to that, I was like wrestling Matt Cardona on some indie show.
Right.
It's really I hate saying 180, but I mean I it's that's probably one of those things where it's like, all right, yeah, last week I was wrestling Matt Cardona. This
Mhm.
definitely feels like a different environment or a different world from
Yeah,
where I've been. Were you it hit you like, did it hit you really quick, or like were you prepping for that trend? We talked about the transition, but like were you getting yourself ready for like, hey, I'm signed, this is not a joke? Like, were there any of those types of steps that you were giving yourself, or you just kind of been rolling with the punches?
I feel like I've looked at wrestling like that in general.
Mm,
Even when I started my career, just even signing up, man. Like you see all kinds of people sign up, and I'm like, nah, man, this is not. This is you're a professional athlete.
right.
Hmm.
Like it's funny how many people come to me like, oh, how do you train, or like what's your workout split? Like again, I'm a professional athlete. I look at this as if I'm like an NFL player.
Hmm.
I take care of my body. I sleep, nutrition. I'm working on the branding aspect of things. I'm looking at acting classes. That was all before I got signed, just to get myself signed.
Hmm.
And then as you get signed, you realize, oh, there's another level to this.
Hmm.
So what I'm doing is still great. It's like the baseline because some people don't even do that.
Hmm.
But like now you got to step it up even more.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I've always just kind of looked at it that way. And again, before I did the independence, when I really got into the independence, okay, how do I present myself? I want to show myself I'm higher than everybody here. That's how I look at myself. Because again, you show up at these shows, and I'm like, I don't feel like you deserve to even be on the show with me.
I
So
love it.
like, why are y'all? Because my coach, RJ Meyer, Joey Mercury, really put it in my head where there's a lot of people that should be on the other side of that guardrail.
Yeah.
So I always held myself to a very high standard. I don't like dap hands when I come into the ring. Now I walk up the stairs to this platform to show everybody I'm already above you. And that's how I think of myself to everybody in the back. I'm already above you. So like I'm a star.
No, it sounds like Khan is ready,
Hmm.
been ready,
Been
Definitely.
ready.
was it's 6 years in. Was any of this in like your 5-year plan? Like, did you think you was going to be, you knew you was a star? Did you think that star was going to be this far this quick?
I did not. Because I tell people that too. Like newer people ask me, oh, like how do you go about like getting book places or getting signed? Like, again, I'm very fortunate for my situation. 2 years in, I'm just happy that Joey Mercury came to my school and he saw me and he was like, okay, this group of people that I'm going to work with, he's one of them. Then I get to ROH Dojo. He's one of the group of people that I want him to be on signed on this contract. Like I met these people and again, the way that I look is one thing, but then once they see how that I work because I was trained by great trainers, that's a whole nother thing.
Hmm.
So it just happened very fast. But I tell people all the time, I know people who are friends of mine in this business who've been doing this for 15, 16, 17 years who have not gotten signed.
Right.
But I've always looked at it in my mind, like AJ Styles didn't make it to the Fed, but after 15 years, like it takes time to be great at this shit. Stop being entitled. Stop thinking that y'all can get signed after 2 years because some people do because they do backflips off the top rope.
Right.
This is a grind.
That's
That's
right.
how I've always looked at it.
That's right. That's right.
Like,
Damn,
again, very fortunate for my situation, but I was prepared to like at least put 5 to 10 years into this.
bro, stand on
Wow.
business.
Right. Standing on his business, and
Because
that,
if
and
you think
that's.
about it, man, you go to high
Mm-hmm.
school, college, grad school. It took all that time for me to get a real shoot job.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we look at wrestling the same way?
That's right. That's right. The fact that you are owning not just your career but the industry itself, and like you're holding yourself to a standard,
Hmm.
is going to get you further than where you are right now. And I have to say, like, I'm very impressed.
I appreciate it.
I don't, I'm, these guys brought me into indie wrestling and just like opening up my eyes to different wrestlers. I have to say, Lovely Laveau is who
Okay.
pointed me to you initially,
Mm,
like a few years back. And you know, I'm very, it's pomp and circumstance for me. Like I need the flashing lights and all that, but I've been thoroughly impressed by a lot of the different wrestlers outside of the Fed, and you are absolutely one of them. And you definitely have gained a fan from before, but now, even now, because your demeanor, everything, just how you are present within yourself and who you
Oh, he's
are,
ready.
and within the industry, it's just, it's phenomenal to see. And you don't see that.
I
Not a lot
appreciate
of
it.
people have that mental maturity, and you're taking it one step at a time, and you're taking it in, and it's just really exciting to see you shine.
Oh,
It is.
thank you so much. I think also I think starting wrestling later in life
Mm-hmm.
probably also helped me for that.
Mm-hmm.
Blame my mom for that because she was like, "You better go to college first and get your degree
That's right.
before you do this." I was like, "Okay, I'll do that to like make you happy. I'll have a shoot job for a couple of years, and then when I'm not fulfilled with that anymore,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna do it with professional wrestling."
That's right.
So when I started at 27, you see people that start at like 19
Mm-hmm.
who are kids in my mind. They
Yeah.
are not ready for this. They don't understand again the grind to do this. You need to have a
That's right.
full time job to like you have that insurance. Like
That's
you,
right.
this costs money to do it.
That's right.
So I was already there. Like I was way ahead of the curve on how I was approaching this.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. We see it. We
Can
see
y'all
it.
see? My internet is going crazy. I
The
think I want to.
Roblox. It's the Roblox. We know.
No, my son is on the way home, but actually, I think I do want to. I think that's a good place to kind of put an end to it because again, I think Kaun got stuff to do, and B, I would love to revisit this at a certain point,
Mhm.
in the near future, because again, I just echo what Mimi said, just based off of you see somebody, you see how somebody works, but then to hear that there is a method to the process, and they're approaching it like a grown ass man and not just somebody trying to, like you said, doing backflips off the
Mhm.
top rope. It's encouraging to hear
Mm-hmm.
about the future
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
of this thing of yours, this thing of ours. I don't know if I can say it's a thing of mine.
Right. Right.
I appreciate it.
No doubt. Kaun, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for
Anybody
stopping
who
by.
wants to know more about Kaun, links will be in the description down below. Mimi, you got anything else you want to say before we get out of here?
Keep doing it. We right behind you. Keep doing it.
Facts.
I appreciate it.
We are out. Peace.